conclusions that one draws from these numbers.
All right, you cannot be confident in those conclusions. What I'm saying is I have questions about the conclusions. What I'm saying is the agency is not even confronting what I think is the salient fact here, which is that there are many more police officers in 2015 who have sub-complaints than a year ago. And maybe that's because you're investigating faster, and maybe that's because video is more available, and maybe what that leads one to conclude is the substantiation rate from the beginning of time should have been 30%. And what was happening all these years was because the agency took forever to investigate complaints, and there wasn't video, they were reporting substantiation rates of 7%. And we should go back and conclude that, in fact, there were 50,000 additional cops in the last 5 years who should have had sub cases or not. But I'm just saying, I don't see that engagement at an analytical level here. What I see is too much, from my perspective, of the police department narrative. And on the complaints, for instance, I see, and this is in the report, they're pointing out that year-to-date complaint numbers are down. What is not mentioned is a quite substantial statistical increase in complaint numbers this month as opposed to a year ago. I'm not saying that one is more important than the other. I'm saying you can't pick and choose because you like one category number because it's going in the right direction and you ignore another category number because it's going in a different direction. Enough about that. I noticed in the report that there's been a substantial decrease in recommended penalties from the agency. This is on page 20. And I'm just going to ask you, I'm just going to put it on the table now, we can talk about it going forward. I have questions. You have quite significantly emphasized the fact that the department is more frequently agreeing with your penalty recommendations. And you treat it as a good thing, and I think in the abstract that's a good thing also. But when I look at that table, I see that you pretty much flipped the percentage of cases that get charges with the percentage of cases that get instructions. And it is no surprise to me if that's what's really happening. The department is agreeing with you a lot more because what you are proposing much more frequently is nominal discipline. Indeed, I consider instruction not to be discipline at all. With respect to the numbers on videos, Richard, I understand the video point. It's an important point. The table you have here just talks about percentages of cases with video. It doesn't have any numbers of cases with video. So I can't tell if you've got 10 cases in a month or 100 cases in a month, and I would ask you to include that because it makes it easier for somebody like me to say, okay, video in fact is a big part of it because many of the cases have video. Well, it's not a big part, it's a small number of video. Finally, I would mention one significant omission. I'm going to write you a more detailed letter about some of the smaller details, but the NYPD dispositional table seems not to be in here, which is a very important table, and that was the table of what the department had done with all your cases for the month and for the year. It included such things as the dupes. That table seems to be completely gone, and I apologize if I had missed it, but I feel like that was a very important table to give the public a picture of, for the year-to-date and for the month, what had happened to all the department dispositions, and that does not seem to be here. All right, the final thing I would say is thank you for getting the rules done. We, of course, will have detailed written comments about them. We talked about them for months. Richard, I want to thank you for the effort you have made to make the rulemaking process as public as you have. I think it's been quite important. I don't think you needed to do that, and I thank you for everything.
Just so you know, Chris, the NYPD final penalties for APU cases and penalties for allegations imposed by the police commissioner for non-APU cases is on page 25.
No, I saw that. Those are different tables. You don't need to do that. For instance, there's no way you can count groups if you went through this by hand, individually. If you had a table that had every single disposition, all the cases were closed in a month, and every single disposition of all those cases, and that's no longer here.
Completely noted. Appreciate that. We have Rick Robinson.
Hi, Rick Robinson. NAACP in North New Jersey. North New Jersey is currently on the way for the CCRB. So the staff, Executive Director, Ms. Malik, our departmental leads have been influential involving mentoring me, so I can actually bring this profile over to the city of North and help out with the establishment of the CCRB. I briefly glanced the report for the day, and I actually went over your information that was given to me on my first visit. In my opinion, and some people in North New Jersey, very impressive. There has been steady growth. When you're dealing with these kind of serious instances, it's really, really tough. So I will give your board and meeting your staff kudos, because it is a very, very tough thing to do. And Ms. Emery, you should be very proud of the CCRB, the situation with current numbers. All right.
I'm very proud of the staff. This board, I think, is all very proud of us.
Yeah, you should be. There is room for growth, and I was pretty much informed of that at my first visit, and those are things that are being worked on. But let me tell you about the situation in North New Jersey. We are currently at 50% pertaining to getting established. And again, I am leaning on the New York CCRB for any kind of inclusion of help and understanding. And I heard you earlier today with your explanation for clarity on certain matters. And I have to tell you, it was needed. And it was applicable, and it was excellent. So I congratulate you on that. You had a number of high-profile cases recently. I had to congratulate you on that. Newark was, I would say, they had an awful internal affairs unit. Department of Justice did an investigation and study, and it pretty much concluded that over 500 cases were not recorded with internal affairs. So you had some residents who were feeling slighted. There was numerous misconduct issues. So we feel that it is unnecessary for a CCRB to be established. And again, I just want to say thank you, Lena, and to your staff. Wonderful people. Ms. Emery, you should be very proud.
Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Thank you. We have so Rick Robinson's there. We have oh, sorry, Jose LaSalle.
If you want me to go again, I'll go again.
All right. Thank you. No, Mr. LaSalle. Thank you.
First, I'm gonna say I gotta sound too friendly like everybody else that's been up here, so y'all know that anyway. So there won't be too many thanks and congratulations, especially coming from me. One of the reasons is because first, I'm Jose LaSalle, the founder of Cop Petroleum. I got a group of about 50 to 60 brothers and sisters that I sent out different parts of the community in the 5 boroughs. We usually go to the precincts where CCRB complaints are high, and also to the precincts where we get intel from people within the community that there is a lot of police harassment. Main objective is to just video record everything. We kind of master the NYPD patrol guide because we feel that that's very important, especially with the broken windows that Bill Bratton had brought back here and has been implementing. In community of color, we kind of figured that that would be the broken windows for the NYPDs. So we make sure that they be held accountable either by us documenting it and posting it through social media. We have a very big social media, different groups and organizations, and we make sure we spread it all around. To the point where many officers actually tells us to please don't put them on YouTube, please don't put them on social media, which shows us that we're doing a lot more work than the CCRB themselves are doing. Because when they see us, they straighten up. When they see us, their attitude changes. And I know that many people in this board here, or anyone in this board, will never be in the street video recording the police, or never be in the community of color where it's most effective. So I will never see them there. So for them to get credit for substantiated cases because of videographers like myself who put their body on the line every single day, and other videographers who take it upon themselves and say, you know what, I'm tired of seeing this. I'm tired of police officers coming in my community, harassing, dehumanizing, traumatizing, criminalizing, brutalizing, and even murdering our brothers and sisters. So these are the people that are standing up, and that is the only reason they're able to substantiate these claims now. It's not because of what they're doing, because what they've been doing for a long time. And to take videographer for it to take place like it has now, for them to substantiate it, I can't give them no credit for that. Another thing that I want to share is, where I'm going to lead into my case too. This is a folder I have here of CCRB complaint. CCRB complaint made by me and my group of cop officers. And I'll get into that in a little while and tell you the story about that and where the contradiction resides within that. We've been very upset because I know we've been getting credit from NWACP from New Jersey about the James Blake issue or these so-called high-class cases. We can't give you no credit for that. Because the simple fact is, there's other cases that have been laying on your desk for years, which has been substantiated with video, and they still laying on your desk. And that is sad. They only took, 28 days, not even 30 days, for y'all to look into the James Blake case. Not even 30 days. I mean, nowhere, I've been trying to find where in the CCRB, since y'all been around, has any case been looked at that fast. I haven't found it. And if y'all can find it, I would like to get it. And you know what that tells the community and what tells the people in my community? It tells us that you have to be somebody that is famous, you have to be somebody that is rich, and you have to be somebody that the media is going to go crazy, they're saying over, because that's what the people want, and that's how we substantiate the case. And that brings me to my case. When I was video recording, these are the bruises that I gained from being assaulted by police. So these are the bruises I gained. I ended up being in the hospital for like about 3 days with a concussion. And they forcibly charged me with, 1 was jaywalking, and 2 with carrying possession of a scanner. These cases have been dropped because they were falsified cases anyway, so they wasn't going away. They have been dropped. Then I sent the information to the CCRB. They had the hospital report, they had the pictures, they had the video of the police officer shining the light at me until the point where the video went dead because I was snatched up, thrown against the fence, and my phone was grabbed and slammed against the floor. So that was given to the board, and with other evidence. And this is why I get back to the board. Right? Abuse of authority, unsubstantiated. There's video of this too. Force, exonerated. Force, again, that's C, exonerated. Discourtesy, unsubstantiated. Discourtesy, unsubstantiated. Abuse of authority, unsubstantiated. Abuse of authority, unsubstantiated. Abuse of authority, unsubstantiated. Abuse of authority, officer, unidentified. And I gave them information, they identified the officer. Because if I have the information, they have it too. Discourtesy, unsubstantiated. Other misconduct, officer 5 failed to prepare memo, book entry required by patrol guide, procedure, and 2 months. So that was the other misconduct. So now, and I also requested for it to be reopened because I feel that, one, that's a slap in my face for all the hard work that I do in the community, because I'm out there putting my life on the line against the police officers who don't really like me and they don't like what I'm doing because I'm documenting them not following the proper procedures and protocol. But then the Blake issue happens, and this was funny is that's what I'm going to show you the contradiction. This other case is also about a sergeant who was interfering with me while I was trying to record them. And said in the video, this case, which is after this one, and I guess during the Blake incident, in this case, it was the same thing that has happened with this, that started this situation here. The guy was arrested, falsely accused, and assaulted. So in this case, abuse of authority, with this sergeant is substantiated and formalized payment. And I have so many cases here that they have dismissed, even with video. I mean, maybe it's just against Cowboy Patrol Unit that they have something personal. I don't know. I guess that's something else. All right, but I will request for all these cases to be open, so it'll be on the record. And I will come back and let y'all know and keep you updated on what's happening in these cases. Because the simple fact is, if James Blake could get that type of treatment, but then people that's out there every single day facing this type of brutality from police cannot get that same respect, cannot even get that same courtesy, then the CCRB board shouldn't even exist. And we want to make sure that, you know, to my groups, to my brothers and sisters, we'll make sure we expose everything that we could about the CCRB, what they do and what not they doing, what they're taking credit for, which they're not doing, but they're taking credit for because it's all over. You know what I'm saying? They have no problem talking to the New York Post, talking to the Daily News, breaking down how you're saying successful they've been. But their success don't come without them saying the people that's out there every single day. And I'm gonna finish up with, so I will, Emery, I will bring these cases and actually reopen them. For one, they should have never been closed. And I guess I'll bring that to y'all within the next few days. Another thing that I want to say is that it is hard for, I work with all the parents that have lost their loved ones. From Kamani Gray to Chantel Davis, Ronaldo Cueva, and Ever Gardner family. You know, I work with so many different families, and it's sad that even their cases will sit on their desk for years or for a year, right, before they even think about coming up with a decision, and it's sad. And we need to look into that because all these people that's praising these boards, see, done already. It's gone. You know what I'm saying? All these people praising these boards, praising this board, I need to realize that they're not representing the community. You know what I'm saying? Because if you're praising the board for what they're doing and police brutality is still rampant in my community, then they're not doing anything. Like I said, we do a lot more work than these community boards does or will ever do because we're out there where the war against people of color is taking place. Like I said, this is the quality they want. They would not go to my community. Ain't none of them will walk one day with me in my community where I'm doing cowboy to see what I see. You know what I'm saying? But many of them will have no problem checking out my YouTube or looking into the YouTubes of other people to see what's happening out there. Oh, they have no problem sitting at home and doing that.
And that is something we need to check. And I'm gonna make sure that I keep coming to the community board, CCRB, and keep showing the contradiction that exists in this board. Because I'm not satisfied, the people in my community here in the Bronx are not satisfied. Take a look. Take a look who's here. Where is my community at? And even the ones that I said come so y'all can witness this, you know what they said? They said, I'll stay home and see it in live stream. Why would I go and listen to them say all that crap is gonna go on? To listen to that Hollywood show that they're gonna show. You know what I'm saying? So we have to be very aware, and like I said, ain't nobody in this board speak for my community or for the people of color. And what's the blessing?
I would just like to address that, Mr. LaSalle. I know that you don't know me personally, but I grew up in Corona and Elmhurst, and I've spent my entire life serving the public. So I understand what you're saying, and I don't know when your letters were dated, but certainly this agency exists for people of all communities across this entire city. I don't know when your letters were dated, but if they weren't reopening, certainly, my chief of investigations is here right now, Mr. Thomas Kim. I invite you to talk to him after this meeting is over. And if your cases are warranted to be reopened, believe me, they will be, and they will be looked into.
Just Mark Turley.
And I'd just like to, I wasn't planning to just like to respond to that comment. I'd like to make sure everyone's aware, I'm sure most people in this community are aware, that not every neighborhood, not every community in the city is policed the same way. So you should acknowledge that before you make future statements.
I absolutely do.
Okay.
Having grown up in Corona and Elmhurst, Queens, I
Where do you
absolutely
live now?
Thank you.
Where do you live now?
That's not public information.
Okay. Well, we live in Northern, and this is where the police are coming down now.
I was born in
Thanks.
Silver Spoon.
So, okay, look where you're at, and look where we're at. So, Mr. Emery, glad to be in the presence of the cop bashing arm of the NYC. I think that's what Mr. Lynn Patnich told you guys, right? Because he didn't like your, I guess you guys have recommended like 3 days lost paid vacation for a case, and he thought that was like the end of the world. For the record, I don't think you're cop bashing, and although I know you work for the NYC and you're pretty close with Mr. Dunn, you guys are nowhere near being labeled cop bashing wing of the NYC. When I tell people in my community that the chair of the CCRB's son works in the NYPD under Commissioner Bratton, they're like the cynicism that has already existed around oversight of police in this city for 20 years, it just goes even further. This is, when you guys talk about the number of cases you substantiate, I hope you guys realize that the samples that you're working with are like a fraction of the actual interactions that we see in our communities. Because most of the people in communities of color are so cynical about government agencies, and especially, you know, I know Newark is looking at CCRB, but let me tell you right now, talk to people who've been around here, talk to the Norman Siegel who helped create this agency, and I'll tell you to the night, this isn't a good model. This is good politics. The greatest politics I think was explained by Mr. Dunn, to his credit, is he said, look at what narratives you're putting out to the media. Lower number of substantiated cases. This is politics. And everything that you guys do, I hope you understand it. And so I'm like looking at this thing about you guys are having a resolution which had no debate up here, which was just unanimous. I guess you guys talked about it before the public hearing. About putting cameras into people's homes or putting them into on officers who do home invasions or something. Like the debate over body cameras is like up in the air right now. I don't believe in body cameras. People, activists, even the NYCOU or some of the other civil liberties groups, they're not sure about the surveillance side of body cameras, and you guys are taking a political position going out saying, we want body cameras. Where is that footage going to be stored? Are the police going to use that footage against the community, further criminalize us? It's a two, like, you guys take these positions and you just put them out there and you say, we're a completely objective oversight agency. But the politics are obvious. They were obvious when I found out you were Bratton's friend and you were first here. And this is not personal slang, but this is just what we see as cronyism. This is what we see when we think like, yo, are we going to finally have reform this year? So I know I haven't made the last few meetings, and I'm definitely going to be making more of them. We've enjoyed some quality time with the city council who added 1,300 cops. We've been kind of harassing them about that. But the more and more that we come here, and we see you take these positions, and I'm not even talking about the bean counting that's coming up here about all these things that I can't even, I don't have the attention span for. But I'm talking about the positions that I see you guys put out there, and you guys are asking for body cameras to go into home invasions without any debate. We're losing, and this is just me, I'm not going to pretend to speak for everybody, everybody's entitled to their opinion, but I'm losing more and more and more faith that this is nothing more than just an appendage to the NYPD to make it appear like there's oversight. And I'll ask you one last question, because I remember this clearly. This is what tipped me off. You said at one meeting, you said if it were up to you, and this is regardless of what's in the city charter, if it were up to you, you would still want final say-so to be with the commissioner of the NYPD. That means that you guys, or excuse me, not you guys, the head of the CCRB wouldn't want the power to actually you guys are disciplining like 5 lost vacation days when somebody gets, that was one of the cases with the pregnant woman who's thrown on her stomach. I think that cop, you guys recommended like 5 unpaid vacation days or something like that. Like if I throw a pregnant woman on the ground belly down, I'm pretty sure I lose more than 5 days pay, right? But regardless of the level of kind of discipline that you're asking, if you're saying that you would still want, I'm asking you today, you would still want the final say over discipline to be with the police commissioner? And that's just a question I'll just leave you.
Shannon Jones.
You're not going to answer my question?
No, not right now. I've answered this before. There's no reason to answer it right now.
Good evening. My name is Shannon Jones, and I'm the co-founder of Bronx Sites for NYPD Accountability, affectionately known as My Accountability. Since the chokehold death of Eric Garner in July of 2014, we have engaged in community activism in the form of direct confrontation with police commanders in the precincts in order to address police brutality, conduct, misconduct, and operational terrorism taking place in our communities. That's for the benefit of those that are not familiar with me. The board is certainly familiar with me because I've appeared here several times, and I make it a point to try to come as often as I can in order to speak on behalf of the community that I live in and entrust me to represent them here every month. So I just want to, before I begin with what I plan to say, I would like to take a moment to address what I've heard so far. The gentleman that's coming to us from Newark, New Jersey, I appreciate every opportunity that communities have to take control over the police departments throughout this country. But I give you fair warning. If you choose to use the New York City CCRB as a framework and as a model, it is a recipe for disaster. Don't do it. Ross Baraka is certainly in tune with his community at large and is aware of his community, and certainly has the skill in order with everyone in Newark, New Jersey, in order to put together a civilian review board that will be effective, that will have teeth, and that will work for the community residents at large. So you can weigh that in with what you have experienced with the board and with what the community is telling you. And as a member of the community, I strongly advise against that. Use the skills that you have in your own town to build something for your people of color that you can be proud of, that will not continue to move forward in the areas of operational terrorism that I'm here once again to state formally on the record, because that's what goes on here. Okay, and also secondly, when the communities come here to speak to the board, everything doesn't always warrant an answer. Sometimes things just need to hang in the wind. Out of respect for the people that come here, out of respect for the people that are watching live stream or maybe even tomorrow. And I hope this will not be a pattern going forward where questions are directed specifically to Mr. Emery, but they have to be answered by our members of color on the board. My recommendation to you, people of color, let it be. You being from the hood at some time in the past bears no relevance to your position on the board. It does not appease the communities that get dragged out of their cars on cell phone camera. Communities that get ticketed $100 for a $2.75 jump on the turnstile. Doesn't benefit us. It doesn't show the board that you have your pom-poms out, that you rah-rah sis boom bop. It's something that communities of color have borne for 200, 300, and 400 years. That there's always a person of color that has to stand up and justify and give reasons for and objections to other people of color's experience. And as a professional woman, I've learned long ago never to do that. Because at the end of the day, it will be your own people dragged out of cars, excessively ticketed, murdered on the street, called horrible abusive names. Although your paycheck may allow you to be removed from it, we will not allow you to come here and make excuses for a white supremacist organization that continues to brutalize, terrorize, and murder our communities. So with that said, I will move on to my topics of discussion. First and foremost, I've had an opportunity, got a lot of time. First and foremost, I would like to say that I did have an opportunity to review the September 2015 statistical report. Once again, the CCRB fails miserably to cite the statistical issues that I continue to bring to this board. Again, I ask, should I choose to follow a substantiated case with APU charges to an APU court? Where does that document tell me where I need to be? I see that there's a substantiated chokehold in 2015, September. What is the case number for that case? Where does it correspond to the APU trial calendar in order for me to be present and have a voice and stand up for our communities? This is the type of cloak and dagger, sir, in Newark, New Jersey, I hope that you do not do. If you take the time out to review the statistical reports for a period of time, I would say approximately 9 months, 10 months, you will see that critical statistical information has been absent from those reports, such as the substantiated cases by precinct and by borough, the mediations by borough, and at my request last month, I see it added back, but it's still cloaked in missing information. That still does not allow the community to fully and completely engage in the civilian complaint process. We are still cloaked and shielded from the civilian complaint process. That must mean that the communities in the 4-1 precinct, the 4-0 precinct, the 4-7 precinct, the 4-6 precinct, the 4-2 precinct are not allowed to be present at APU trials for substantiated charges in their own communities. And I come here out of my own way, spending my own time. And it is at this point a joke. I don't know whether I'm on Saturday Night Live, Mad TV, or some type of skit. Because for you as a board to sit there with dignity every month in front of us and think that you are doing a good job, it must be a joke. Ashton Kutcher may run out and tell us all that we are being punked, because you have to do better than this. And I cannot come here every single month asking for information that you already hold, that is already available to you, that for whatever reason you refuse to provide to the community. You know why? After we saw that chokehold for a broken windows offense or alleged offense, the community is actively engaged in putting a stop to police brutality. We want to identify the officers that are in our communities that get transferred to other hood communities to say, no, you won't be here. You were here, but you won't be here. But if I can't be present at an APU trial, I won't know who that is. And I have to rely on who? The police commander, the police lieutenant, the XO, who continually disrespect us and lie to us month after month, year after year, decade after decade. Just today, the police department got busted creating its own parking lane on Skimmerhorn Street. They bought white paint and pretended to create their own parking lanes in a bike lane. What's the big deal about that? But you know what that is? That is the manifestation of the NYPD feeling that they have to obey no rules. No rules apply to them. They don't have to respect anyone. The bike rider on the street, the pedestrian walking, the Department of Transportation that my tax dollars went to strike those bike lanes down. And you're gonna come with your own paint from Home Depot and write cops on the street so you can park freely as you choose? A lady came to the 4-6 precinct meeting 1 year ago to complain that the police department parks on her curb, on her sidewalk, breaking down her sidewalk. A year later, they are still doing it on the side of the 4-6 precinct. This is what this board has allowed them to do with the toothless pandering to the police department. Last month I came here on a Wednesday. The following day I had the expectation, after following the democratic process, that the precinct community guidelines prescribe in terms of attendance and conduct to be elected as recording secretary of the PSA 7. I attended the September meeting, the October meeting, the November meeting, the December meeting, the February meeting, the April meeting, participated in a vote, and did the democratic process to have the commander inform me that I was excused from my duties. Because, again I say, the NYPD is an inherently corrupt and racist institution. It only wants to put in place in precinct council boards people, and I will use my own precinct as an example. The vice president didn't even know what the word abstention meant, but could vote for my removal. These are the type of people that precinct commanders prefer to be in place in our communities because they will cheerlead, they will dance, they are ill-informed, and they counteract. I have said this for 1 year, and I will continue to say it. And I will hope that going forward, as is my request every month that I come here, that you guys do the very best you can with the information that you have. And I'm speaking to the people of color. Because I'm not too far from where you are. And I've said that numerous times. It is weary, and it's been a weary fight since the days of slavery. But we shall not give up. We shall be present, we shall be engaged, we shall confront, and we shall expose, even if it means you. Those videos that are present every month on YouTube that show the PSA 5 shining lights in people's faces, that's a discourtesy, that's a misconduct. You have a First Amendment constitutional right to record any police activity in the public sphere, any police activity investigation, as long as it is a safe distance away from said investigation. Police departments in the city of New York continue to violate those rights. Body cams won't do it. The control is within the community. The control will remain within the community. And I have made it my mission to ensure that the communities take control of the NYPD because they are out of control, completely out of control. I have watched the Transit Bureau of the 40th Precinct for the entire summer conduct covert investigations against people entering the transit system daily, for which I have pictures and video. They lay behind columns, they lay in doorways, they hide behind fan machines. If you want to deter fair beating, stand in plain sight. Be proud to serve in your position. Do not extort communities of color for $100 when the fare is $2.75. I get off the train every day at Bowling Green. Police officers are in plain sight. If I use the Wall Street station, police officers are in plain sight. Why are they cloaked and why are they hiding in stations of communities of color? Because as we saw in Ferguson, communities of color support the economies of cities through excessive taxing, fines, and summonses. We know this already, and we are exposing it. And as long as the CCRB does not take an active role in calling out that nonsense, I will be here every month to expose you. And I will respectfully request that the members of color do not back up my comments. Can you do at least that for me? Thank you very much.
The Executive Director's report.
First, I want to thank Lauren Click, the Director of Community and Public Programs at the Bronx Museum of the Arts, for assisting us in being here tonight. I will discuss some matters pertaining to the operations of our agency and provide you with highlights from our monthly statistical report. For a full review of the agency's monthly statistics, please visit our website. The year-to-date civilian complaints against the police have decreased by 15%. From January through September 2015, the CCRB received 3,289 complaints compared to 3,857 complaints for the same period in 2014. By category of allegation, year-to-date, discourtesy complaints have decreased by 25%, force complaints by 16%, offensive language complaints by 19%, and abuse of authority complaints by 7%. I wanted to direct all of your attention to the screen here because we do have some slides to illustrate the statistical analysis that we've done this month. From January through September 2015, the agency has received a monthly average of 365 complaints compared to an average of 429 complaints per month for the same time period last year. In September, the CCRB opened 401 new cases, which is down from 433 in August, however, up from 345 in September of last year. In September, the CCRB's total open docket was 1,195 cases. By the end of September, 655 of these cases were in the investigations division, representing 54% of the total, down from 670 in August. Of the total docket, 370 cases were pending board and/or executive staff review. That represented 31%, down from 477 cases pending review in August. The mediation program handled 170 cases, representing 14% of the open docket, up from 150 cases in August. And there were an additional 11 cases on DA hold in September. The CCRB continues to close its cases more efficiently. Of the cases that remain in the CCRB active docket, 91% have been open for 4 months or less, and a record 98% have been open for 7 months or less. Continuing the trend from August, these docket numbers continue to be the best docket numbers since the creation of the office as an independent agency from the New York City Police Department. Our investigators closed 1,689 full investigations from January through September 2015, compared to 1,444 for the same period last year, and resulting in 17% more full investigations. Year-to-date, the average days to close a full investigation has decreased 27% from 2014 before the reforms to 2015. In 2015, the CCRB has fully resolved more cases than it has truncated. This reverses a negative trend from previous years in which more cases could not be fully investigated because the complainant or victim withdrew the complaint, was uncooperative, unavailable, or unidentified. In September, the CCRB fully investigated 52% of the cases it closed and mediated or attempted to mediate an additional 6%. In September, 39% of cases were truncated versus 56% in August, representing a 17% decrease. The CCRB continues to work to lower the number of truncations. We continue to increase interviews outside of the CCRB offices in Lower Manhattan in order to provide easier access to the community. Year to date, our investigators have interviewed 2,018 complainants and witnesses. 1,813 of these were interviewed at the CCRB, and an additional 205 were interviewed at other locations. This means that we conducted 10% of interviews at other locations, which is a steady increase in interviews conducted outside of the CCRB offices from 8% in 2014, 7% in 2012 and 2013, and only 4% in 2010. The September 2015 case substantiation rate of 29% is the highest in CCRB history. September marks the 6th straight month that the CCRB has substantiated more than 20% of its cases that it fully investigates. In comparison, the case substantiation rate was 17% in September 2014. The CCRB also substantiated 17.4% of its allegations, which is also the highest percentage in recent CCRB history. With regard to fully investigated allegations in September, the board substantiated 5% of force allegations, 24% of abuse of authority allegations, 19% of discourtesy allegations, and 12% of offensive language allegations. Investigations using video evidence substantiated allegations in 51% of the cases compared to 22% of substantiated cases in which video was not available. In September, the disciplinary rate was 97% for 34 cases in which police misconduct was substantiated by the board and sent to the police department advocate's office with penalty recommendations. The department declined to prosecute rate for this time period was 3%. The discipline agreement rate was 76% for these 34 cases in which the police commissioner communicated a decision in September. In September, the police commissioner finalized verdicts against 31 officers. 19 of these were guilty verdicts won by the CCRB's Administrative Prosecution Unit, which prosecutes the most serious allegations of misconduct. The APU has conducted trials against 99 respondent officers year to date and trials against 13 respondent officers in September. The new monthly report now contains a table of contents, glossary, appendix, and it's all meant to assist the public in navigating the report. In response to feedback from community member Shannon Jones, who is here with us tonight, and other members of the public, the monthly report has been modified. It now includes a breakdown of complaints by precinct and borough of occurrence on pages 14 to 16, as well as board substantiations by precinct and borough of occurrence on pages 22 to 21. Additionally, penalties for allegations imposed by the police commissioner for non-APU cases according to borough, precinct, and FADO-type allegations can be found on pages 25 to 27. And we have also included a disposition information for unsubstantiated, exonerated, and unfounded allegations separately on pages 10 to 14 of the report. And as we go forward, we'll make certain modifications, more so for the public. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you for describing some of the modifications of the report. I guess one suggestion that I heard at a recent meeting that Ms. Jones had made was of particular interest to me, and I'm wondering if we could, maybe internally discuss it or actually the distinguishing complaints against plainclothes officers and uniformed officers. I thought that was a very interesting suggestion and could be helpful to present and for us to understand as an agency on board.
Thank you, Joe. That makes a lot of sense. Any further comments? Okay, so any committee reports?
Yes.
Thank you.
Well, as you know, outreach has been very busy, and we've been aggressively trying to fill all the positions that we have open to expand our outreach committee. I want to first say that we do have two of our new outreach persons here. Sylvia and Gregory. And both of them are fully trained on presentations and have already gone out and have been very successful. We decided to take a step back as we were interviewing for the new members of the outreach team. So our average of 25 presentations a month has kind of dropped to 10 per month over the last 5 or so months, so that we can reorganize and re-strategize the launch of this new human capital. But we're still on track with a lot of initiatives. We have several new initiatives that I want to mention, which involve going to police roll calls, police precinct council meetings. We've actually done 20 of those meetings already. Night meetings, the TA President Association, we've done 7. We're also collaborating with the Archers probationaries so that we can do outreach there. We're doing outreach to the homeless community, and we've already completed an outreach to that community. And also 5 events completed with the LGBTQ community. Some of the things that you mentioned in previous reports are just highlighting now as things that have actually been completed since that last report. And so we still have 3 open positions. 3 of these 3 positions are going to be interviewed by our executive director over the next week or so. And we're just excited about the automation and some of the things that we're using as outreach tools to be more effective. So that kind of abbreviates the report.
Any other reports? Any other comments? New business? Old business? All right. Well, I think we are adjourned except for executive session. And we have a motion to go into executive session. All in favor? Any opposed? Okay. Thank you all. Move the public